We used to think we were familiar with the tricks of Las Vegas. Resort fee? I'm used to it. Are the drinks expensive? Of course. In Vegas, everything has a price, and most of us have learned to accept that as part of the experience. But what's happening recently goes far beyond any previous limits. Unexpected fees will pop up that you won't know about until the bill is in front of you. Small numbers that turn the entire trip into a psychological game. Although the new regulations require hotels and resorts to display the full price up front, that doesn't mean they've stopped ambushing tourists. In fact, some new fees are more sophisticated than ever, cleverly hidden in every line of description, in every seemingly harmless convenience policy. So, if you're planning a trip to Vegas or have ever felt your wallet being trapped even before stepping into a casino, be prepared. Because this time, what's happening isn't just a price gimmick. It's a system of hidden traps designed to drain every dollar from your own American dream. In this video, we'll break down every layer of fees, from the $55 resort fee to the hidden surcharges that are creeping across the City of Lights. When even miracles are charged for, is Vegas still worthy of the title City of Dreams? Do you remember when Vegas was still a place anyone could visit? Rooms for just $39 a night, cheap buffets, free drinks, and laughter filling the air. People are willing to spend their entire year's savings just to have 1 week of living large, spending like a king, and being treated like royalty. It was this generosity, this love for Vegas, that led casino corporations to discover the most important thing. Visitors don't just come to play, they come to dream, and that dream, if skillfully crafted, can be priced higher. So, instead of openly raising prices, they came up with something more clever: hidden fees. The tiny charges hidden in the minuscule print at the bottom of the bill, the kind that visitors have to squint at or use a magnifying glass to read. And from this, the resort fee was born, silently, but powerful enough to change the way Americans travel. Today, almost every hotel along the Strip charges this fee. The number fluctuates between $35 and $50 per night, excluding taxes. And of course, it's not displayed in the advertised room rate. Imagine this. You book a room for $99, thinking you've just snagged a great deal. But when I went to pay, the bill ballooned to $175s. You're not seeing things. That's the real price you have to pay for your love of Vegas. Resort fees aren't the only cost. You'll also pay room tax, plus tax on the resort fee itself. The fees piled up like dominoes, turning a fun and memorable trip into a financial burden. If you don't want to be disappointed, it's best not to expect that resort fee includes any special services. Mostly it's just weak Wi-Fi, like a radio signal, access to a gym you'll never use, and maybe a bottle of water in the room. Not a few tourists call it legal pickpocketing, because you're forced to pay for things you weren't asked about or never requested. The irony is, just as they said, it's perfectly legal. Resort fees began to appear in 2004-2005, pioneered by luxury resorts such as the Venetian and Wynn. At that time, tourists were clearly informed and could refuse. But after the 2008 economic crisis, Vegas was in dire straits. Hotels aim to keep the listed price low and attractive, so they hide the true cost in resort fees. For example, advertising $84 a night, but charging an additional $25 ancillary fee. From 2010 onward, almost all major hotels like MGM, Caesars, Mandalay Bay, and Bellagio have made it mandatory, regardless of whether guests use the amenities or not. That was the era when resort fees officially became the unspoken standard of Vegas. According to the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, this type of fee brings in hundreds of millions of dollars each year for Vegas hotels. And while Wall Street celebrated, ordinary people felt betrayed. This blow wasn't just on the bill, it struck at the heart of the city. Once a symbol of generosity, now slowly becoming a symbol of cold calculation. Middle-class tourists and working-class families, The backbone of Las Vegas for decades are gradually disappearing. A group of friends from Canada even cancelled their trip, stating bluntly, "People are tired of being deceived in everything. The buffet cost over $100, but the food was terrible. Blackjack had a minimum bet of $25, and the slot machines didn't pay out. Fees, charges, and costs piled up on top of each other. People aren't stupid. There is no recession. Only smarter tourists know when they are being taken advantage of." Resort fees aren't just annoying guests. They're hurting Vegas itself. When the rooms are empty, there are fewer gamblers, the restaurants are empty, and the staff receives fewer tips. A domino effect quietly spreads, from declining revenue to a drop in public morale. The magical feeling that once drew millions to Vegas, the feeling of living life to the fullest without a care in the world, is now being replaced by caution and disappointment. And by the time tourists realize their $99 vacation actually cost twice that, the magic that once defined the soul of Vegas had also vanished. The City of Lights is now losing its luster, not because of sin, but because of greed legalized in every small fee. What has truly changed in Vegas? The dazzling glass towers, or the very soul that made people willing to drive hundreds of miles just to feel like they belong? And if a city that once sold dreams now charges for every breath it takes, is there anywhere left in America where that dream still holds its value? For decades, Las Vegas had an unwritten rule: free parking. A simple but meaningful promise. Come here. We welcome you with all our hearts. That's how Vegas is different from every place else. Why charge for parking when what they really want is for you to come inside and spend money? That very philosophy created the magic of Vegas, the generosity, the ease, and the feeling of being valued as an honored guest, not a source of profit. But then, that magic shattered in 2016. MGM Resorts, one of the world's largest hotel corporations, announced the end of the free parking era. From now on, parking in the 10-story lot in the middle of the desert will also come at a price, $15 to $25 per day, depending on the hotel. And just a few months later, Caesars and a host of other corporations followed suit. From then on, free parking in Vegas officially became a distant memory. The initial reaction was more intense than expected. Local residents vowed never to set foot on the Strip again. Many tourists say they feel fleeced even before they've put a single dollar into a slot machine. But instead of listening, corporations kept prices the same and even increased them. Some hotels also apply dynamic pricing, increasing rates on weekends or during major events. It seems Vegas is trying to compete with Los Angeles or Manhattan on parking costs, a race they should never have entered. Because Vegas isn't New York. This is a city of long drives, couples from California, groups of friends from Arizona, or locals from Henderson and Summerlin. Parking fees directly target the most loyal customer group, those who drive here to play, eat, and experience the true Vegas spirit. According to the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, LVCVA, the number of self-driving visitors to Vegas has decreased significantly since 2019, and additional costs are among the top complaints. In other words, Vegas is discouraging the very people who once kept it alive. The middle-class guests who drove here during the week, who once stayed up late at the card table, who were the true heartbeat of the city, are now gradually disappearing. Imagine this. A couple drives 4 hours from Los Angeles, ready to spend money on casinos, shows, and fine dining. But when the $40 parking bill appeared, they were left with only a feeling of being taken advantage of, and no longer felt the enthusiasm to go all in like before. Vegas once thrived on the illusion of generosity, but the feeling of betrayal is becoming a poison, silently destroying the city. Even corporations admit the goal isn't convenience, it's revenue. MGM alone generates over $100 million annually from parking. An impressive number. But is it worth it when what they gain in the short term is money and what they lose is customer loyalty? That feeling of frustration quickly turned into action. Instead of complaining, tourists simply don't come back. Not only international visitors, but also domestic tourists and locals are leaving the Strip to seek out suburban casinos, where parking is still free, food is cheaper, and the front desk smiles are genuine. Others are heading to Laughlin or Reno, places that still retain the spirit of old Vegas. Generous, friendly, and not treating visitors as prey. People still love Vegas, but Vegas responds with bills bearing enormous numbers. A city built on the invitation of free shows, free buffets, free spirit, is now charging for even your stopover. And when the cost of stopping becomes too high, people choose to keep going. How long can a city built on hospitality survive when it forgets the meaning of sincerity itself? And if you're charged just for stopping your car for a few hours, imagine this. How much will your dinner, your breath, or your dreams be priced next? In the old days, Vegas was famous for its legendary $1.99 buffets, where visitors could eat their fill and still have enough money left over for a few more hands of blackjack. Today, a simple breakfast of eggs, toast, and coffee can cost $28, and that's before the restaurant adds a mandatory 18% service charge. What was once a symbol of generosity has now become a test of patience. In Vegas, everything used to be all you can eat. Now it's all you can pay. Buffets under $40 have almost disappeared. An average cocktail costs $18.22, and a small bottle of water is $7.10. And if you ask the waiters why the prices have increased so dramatically, they usually just smile sadly and say, "We don't have any say in it." Behind those seemingly absurd numbers is a silent blood transfusion. According to experts at the UNLV School of Hospitality Business, the boom in Wall Street investment funds and private equity firms has completely changed the DNA of Las Vegas. Corporations that once viewed restaurants and buffets as loss leaders, accepting losses to retain customers, now consider them profit centers, a goldmine that needs to be exploited to the fullest. In other words, meals that were once gifts are now revenue. Restaurant chains are standardized, menus are streamlined, and every cup of coffee, every drop of water is priced like a stock. No more comped buffets for middle-class gamblers. No more free salad bars or simple breakfasts with rooms. Vegas has shifted from feeling pampered to feeling charged. Vegas is still trying to maintain its glitz. The ads still talk about luxury dining experiences. And influencers still post photos of martini glasses under yellow lights. But behind the scenes, the picture is very different. An economic system optimized to the point where there is no room for generosity. Perhaps the only thing left that's free is the air in the room, but don't be too sure. Maybe one day, it will also be listed on the bill. And if you think the price of food is the worst part, just wait until you find out that in Vegas, they're even charging you for the chance to win. A city that once made people feel rich now makes them feel poorer. Why? And when Vegas starts putting a price on fun, what will truly be free? Las Vegas once boasted that it was the only place in America where players still had a real chance of winning. But now, the only thing they can promise is that your winnings will be smaller than before. Numbers don't lie. The payout ratio for blackjack used to be 3.2, but is now commonly 6.5, increasing the house edge, the casino's advantage, by about 2%. With slot machines, the average payout rate is now only 88%, the lowest in the entire state of Nevada, according to data from the Nevada Gaming Control Board 2025. In other words, Vegas, once a promise of fairness, is turning itself into a casino for itself. In the past, entering a casino was like stepping into a world where luck could smile upon anyone. Nay, things are different. A 58-year-old man, with snow-white hair and trembling hands placing the final chip, whispered, "I'm not playing to make money anymore. I play to remember." At the table next door, the dealer was still smiling as always, but the light from the ceiling shining down on the table made the scene seem bitter, like a money printing machine disguised by lights and laughter. The feeling of Vegas fair play, random fairness, has disappeared. Small changes in seemingly harmless ratios are eroding the trust of longtime players. They began to realize that each card, each spin was no longer a game between man and fate, but between man and the system. A travel journalist once described it this way: "Today, Vegas is no longer a place where you try your luck. It's a place where luck is programmed to lose." Even the smallest perks, like a free cocktail for players, are gradually disappearing. Many large casinos use a drink monitoring light system. Only when you bet enough does the green light turn on and the bartender serves free drinks. If you take too long, the light turns red, and you'll have to pay. A seasoned player called it taxation with blinking lights, a type of tax wrapped in flashing lights. Why did Vegas choose such a short-term path? Economists point to a less discussed reason: the massive debt structure that casino corporations are carrying. After the pandemic and a wave of massive expansion investments, many parent companies mortgaged assets and borrowed billions of dollars from investment funds to restructure. The pressure to repay interest forced them to squeeze every penny from the very game that had made their reputation. In the race for profits, Vegas seems to be forgetting what made it so appealing: the belief that no matter whether you win or lose, the game is still fair. Now, each card is not just a game of chance, but a mirror reflecting how a city treats its very soul: luck. Perhaps the only thing players are still free to have is the illusion that they still have a chance to win. But even that illusion, one day, will be valued. When the game becomes unfair, who is really taking the risk? And is Vegas betting its entire reputation just to pay off debts? Las Vegas once boasted that it was the only place in America where players still had a real chance of winning. But now, the only thing they can promise is that your winnings will be smaller than before. Numbers don't lie. The payout ratio for blackjack used to be 3.2, but is now commonly 6.5, increasing the house edge, the casino's advantage, by about 2%. With slot machines, the average payout rate is now only 85 to 88%, the lowest in the entire state of Nevada, according to data from the Nevada Gaming Control Board, 2025. In other words, Vegas, once a promise of fairness, is turning itself into a casino for itself. In the past, entering a casino was like stepping into a world where luck could smile upon anyone. Nay, things are different. A 58-year-old man, with snow-white hair and trembling hands placing the final chip, whispered, "I'm not playing to make money anymore. I play to remember." At the table next door, the dealer was still smiling as always, but the light from the ceiling shining down on the table made the scene seem bitter, like a money printing machine disguised by lights and laughter. The feeling of Vegas fair play, random fairness, has disappeared. Small changes in seemingly harmless ratios are eroding the trust of longtime players. They began to realize that each card, each spin, was no longer a game between man and fate, but between man and the system. A travel journalist once described it this way: "Today, Vegas is no longer a place where you try your luck. It's a place where luck is programmed to lose." Even the smallest perks, like a free cocktail for players, are gradually disappearing. Many large casinos use a drink monitoring light system. Only when you bet enough does the green light turn on and the bartender serves free drinks. If you take too long, the light turns red, and you'll have to pay. A seasoned player called it taxation with blinking lights, a type of tax wrapped in flashing lights. Why did Vegas choose such a short-term path? Economists point to a less discussed reason: the massive debt structure that casino corporations are carrying. After the pandemic and a wave of massive expansion investments, many parent companies mortgaged assets and borrowed billions of dollars from investment funds to restructure. The pressure to repay interest forced them to squeeze every penny from the very game that had made their reputation. In the race for profits, Vegas seems to be forgetting what made it so appealing: the belief that no matter whether you win or lose, the game is still fair. Now, each card is not just a game of chance, but a mirror reflecting how a city treats its very soul: luck. Perhaps the only thing players are still free to have is the illusion that they still have a chance to win. But even that illusion, one day, will be valued. When the game becomes unfair, who is really taking the risk? And is Vegas betting its entire reputation just to pay off debts? From a societal perspective, that's the paradox of legalized greed. Vegas didn't invent greed, it just made it more alluring. Vegas didn't invent greed, a reporter once said. It just branded it better. Every detail, from towels and Wi-Fi to hallway lighting, is packaged as a product with a price. The city, once a symbol of freedom, has now become a place where freedom is commodified. The bitterest thing is, everything gradually becomes a habit. Initially, people were outraged. Then they accepted. When absurdity is repeated often enough, it becomes the new normal. Vegas has made being charged part of the experience. Just like how you accept high prices at the airport, even though you know you're being squeezed. But in Vegas, it's more sophisticated. They make you think it's still fun. And this is the scariest part. The worst thing isn't the individual small bills. It lies in the intangible, the price you pay just to keep believing that Vegas is still Vegas. An expensive belief, maintained by memory rather than reality. When absurdity becomes a habit, how do we know where the line between fun and exploitation lies? And if Vegas was once a dream, is it now anything more than a for-profit illusion? Las Vegas still shines brightly every night, still pours champagne, and still promotes golden dreams. But if you look closely, you'll see something else. Behind that light, a small crack slowly spreading, seemingly harmless fees eroding trust, and a city once built on generosity consuming itself through its own greed. Vegas hasn't collapsed yet, but its soul is being sold off piece by piece, with every bill, every line of surcharges that people sign in silence. What is the true cost Vegas is paying? Money, or the faith of those who once believed in it? Is it possible, in a world where everything is increasingly being charged for, that Vegas can rediscover the only thing that ever made it great, its sincerity toward the people who helped it survive? If you've ever felt like you were charged for your beliefs, please leave your story below. Please like, share, and subscribe, not just to tell the story of Vegas, but to preserve its most beautiful memories together, before those lights go out. The content in this video is created for the purpose of analysis, commentary, and education, and is not intended to accuse or assign responsibility to any individuals, organizations, or businesses mentioned. All facts, figures, and quotes in the video are based on public sources, travel reports, and research data legally published at the time of production. Some details may be presented metaphorically, symbolically, or creatively reinterpreted to serve storytelling purposes and convey social messages. Viewers are encouraged to seek further information from reputable sources before drawing any personal conclusions.